together with friends along the way, united with strength to face the day. We're together and now we're here to say, united we will be the change.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Above and Beyond the Accessibility and Inclusion Podcast. Counting down the 12 days before Ontario becomes barrier-free, because that's the day the 20-year deadline is done. So on three, Maddy. 1, okay, 3. Yeah.
Yay! I was gonna go 1, 2, and just have this like whole lead up into this excitement, and then just go.
Yeah,
Let's try it again. Let's try it again. All right.
Okay,
all
ready?
right.
Okay. Okay, Maddy. So let's go back in 5, 4, 3.
Yeah.
So
So we're counting down the last 12 days of AODA before we're barrier free. You know something else that rhymes with barrier in French, the derriere. I think we need to get the AODA a kick in the butt. So what's today's topic, sir?
I was thinking scarier when you said that, because it is kind of getting
Some
scary.
people's derrieres are pretty scarier.
I'm thinking scary. Like we're less than 12 days away, and we're on day 5, and I don't know really if we can say that on the 5th day before the barrier-free accessibility in Ontario, the Ford government gave to me, or really didn't give to me, universal design for learning. I understand, Maddy, and you and I know about this quite well, that it's a baseline. It's a minimum standard. It's
not even a standard in
not even a
Ontario.
standard.
That's the thing. It's
Compliance.
not even a standard.
No, it's compliance to a
Yeah.
degree.
Yeah.
And I find, and we're going to talk about this as we go along, Maddy. We talk about policing, but I find that there's selective policing when you think about it. Certain things can be policed, certain things are enforced, certain things are audited, but not the other real things that really impact people with disabilities and their quality of life.
So there's universal design, which is a general concept that you build an environment for everyone and everyone's needs, rather than having to build an addition to or having to retroactively fix an environment to meet the needs of particular people and their disabilities. Universal design, you start from the beginning with low desks, putting light switches a little bit lower, having outlets a little higher. Those are just like off the top of my head a few things. Universal design for learning is how you apply this concept in educational environments, and sometimes even in work environments.
Well, when you talk about the different things like the low light switches, they also lend themselves, Maddy, to low expectations. When you think about it, when you start from that baseline, you're doing certain small things which are incremental at best, but there's so much more that we can do to amplify the accessibility, whether it be through the universal design or universal design for learning concepts.
Like one concept we talk about the button, the accessibility button, and the fact that so many times it doesn't work. We talked about the fact that many times the accessible interest is around the side or the back or through the kitchen. One concept that you could do is just have an automated door that has a sensor. Then it doesn't really matter. There's no button, and if the sensor doesn't work, nobody can get in. And there's an equitability there, and you're going to make sure that damn door that works all the time. This just came to my head. It's like, you know what? If I could like have one thing as a side dish for the holidays, I would love to know that every door that I go to, I can get into.
Well, and I'm not making this as an excuse, but I guess standard opening and closing procedures more often than not neglect making the door, putting in the electronic, pushing that button on throughout the course of the day, and then forgetting about it at night. There's this concept. Well, nobody with a disability will come through my door. Why do I even need to do this?
Exactly. Yeah, I know.
There's also disabilities that you don't know, you can't see, that are invisible, that maybe people with those disabilities may require that accessible door, but It's
Yeah.
also a benefit for everybody.
Universal means for everybody and for all times. Universal means that whenever I need to do something, the accommodation's already there, regardless of whatever the disability I have, regardless of who I am, regardless of the time of day, that that accommodation is just naturally there. And again, when you're building it, this is something that really I've been part of different organizations that have been trying to push for universal design to be baked into the Canada Building Code, which you would think that a national building code means it applies to every province automatically everywhere. No, every province actually sets their own building code. The National Building Code is a framework that provinces can agree to take parts of or the whole thing. I mean, some of the smaller provinces do take the whole thing, but Ontario picks and chooses every few years how they want to align. And I know there's been recent work done with both the Accessibility Ontario and the Accessibility Canada to look at how can we align some of these standards so that some of the work that the federal government is doing and the accessibility standards groups are doing can apply. It doesn't right now, and the universal design is not something that's part of the Ontario framework. It's not part of the Ontario Building Code, and even things like a small thing you'd think is like an elevator in an apartment building. You'd think that every apartment building just has to have an elevator, right? No, there's it's only when you over a specific number of units that you're required to put an elevator in. So what do developers do? They go one short of that. They'll build two
Mm-hmm.
buildings, one short in each one of them, rather than building something that has an elevator, and they can even have more units that are more accessible. But no, it's like all of these. There's so many of these. Again, minimum standards. The rules are. We don't have a system that makes people want to exceed the expectations, exceed the standards. We don't have an environment or attitudes yet to see accessibility as the course of action we do when we're building things. It's a lot harder to make things accessible that are already built, but new things. It's 2024/2025 when you're probably watching this. It's time to start building from scratch from the conclusion from the start.
Yeah, Maddie, I've got two comments from that. The Rick Hansen Foundation Gold Certification Standard, the cost to a building, a new build, is 1% more to the actual cost. I'm sure I probably mentioned it in previous shorts that we've had here with regards to our 12 days of the AODA, but it's a baseline. It's understanding the fact that accessibility is an all-encompassing benefit. Now let's talk about sporting venues, for example. Let's talk about my home away from home, Tim Hortons Field. Accessibility in a stadium or a venue or a multi-purpose entertainment center.
Hmm.
I believe the number is 2.5 seats need to be quote unquote accessible, and they're not because there's so many interchangeable variables that you change. Like let's talk about Scotiabank Arena for example. The seating for a Raptors game versus a Leafs game is different. Seating for a concert is different. They try to pack in as many spaces as they can and places
Yeah,
as they can in there, and they're
and the
not nowhere
quality of
near the
those
minimum
spaces.
standard.
The quality of those spaces, like what I have found from going to different places for concerts and for events and for watching hockey games, that the accessible seating, the very few places for accessible seating are at the back, right? They're at the back. But you the best seats are at the front. There's almost never any accessibility at the front, and there's almost if there's general admission, there's generally some excuse of why you can't sit in general. Why you can't be in the general admission area or near the stage because it's not safe for everybody else is what I'm usually told. So even though we may have accessible seating, we don't have equitable accessible seating.
Without question. And I mean, yeah, I've heard that before or two. Like I could transfer into a seat, leave my wheelchair on the side. I'm sure you can too, but that becomes a fire hazard. If something were to happen, we're reaching for excuses rather than stating facts, and I
Yeah.
think that's problematic. Maddie, we're at 11 minutes 20 seconds for day 5 and talking about the UDL and universal design. Thanks so much for listening and watching us. We'll see you for the next one.
See ya.
Together